Our words matter. They make an impact. When we say something wonderful, it makes an impact. When we do say something nasty, it also makes an impact, but obviously a negative one. But as much as words matter and they make an impact, ultimately it doesn't define the person. It doesn't define who you are. There's something much deeper. Deeper than that is your thoughts. Now, even though your thoughts do express more who you are, because as the Baal Shem Tov said, in the thoughts of the person, that's where you're found. Right? So you might be going through the motions, as you know, the famous story with the Baal Shem Tov. After services, he went over to one of the congregants and it said, "Oh, Shalom Aleichem, welcome back from your trip." The congregant said, "Rebbe, I've been back for a couple of weeks, and I've been here." He says, Yes. I know you physically came back from your trip, but during prayers today, in your thoughts, you were back on the trip. You were there back, on your trip of business. Welcome back from that trip in your mind. In other words, in the thoughts of the person, that's really where you're at, right? Not what you say, because you could say, "I love you," but in your thoughts, maybe you're thinking something else. So in the thoughts, that's what reflects person. Even that, though, is not the true definition of the person. It's the neshama that's beyond language, beyond communication. That's the core and essence of who we are. So it's important that when we hear someone speak, and we, for like the Baal Shem Tov, sometimes we know what people are thinking, and especially loved ones, we know them well enough that we know what they're thinking. Or sometimes we know what they're thinking, or at least we think we know what they're thinking. Be careful with that, not define them by it. Because that's not, yes, that's their actions, and of course, as we learn in Tanya, that we need to be responsible for our actions of thought, speech, and actions, right, or our behavior. However, that's a person who needs to be responsible for them. But how I look at that person is not merely from what they do, say, or even think. How I look at that person is they got a neshama. They have a soul that's beyond what they articulate, that is much more profound and deeper. And with this, then, we can appreciate, the metaphor over here in a human sense, in that one word that a person said relative to their power to articulate and their power of thought, and even more so the soul and its emotional and intelligence that the soul has, is totally nothing. So sometimes when someone says something to you and they are what's the word? They were caught in the moment with something not so nice. And we want to define them by it. We want to, castigate them, put them into a category, put them into a box. Oh, this, what a, so on and so forth. Just think about this for a moment. That one word they said that was nasty, or a couple of words, whatever, right? Even one word. Jerk, right? Oh, well, that's nasty. And right away, might push a button, and therefore we became the victim of that word, and we're hurt. If you want more and an intimate and personal setting, together with like-minded people who seek to grow and become their truest self, click the link below in the description and join the Tanya Rabbi community, TRC. You can join the first month risk-free at no charge at tanyarabbi.com/TRC. Click below. Looking forward to seeing you. And because of that, all of a sudden, we made a judgment. And that one word, I put them into this box. The box. So this metaphor over here that we're learning maybe helps us how to kind of rethink it. It's one word, and relative to their power of words, and relative to their thought, and their soul even more so. It's really insignificant. So let me not make such a significant thing of this nasty word. After all, they have a soul that's a part of God. Just an interesting thought. Any questions, any comments, any discussion? 2 question marks before you ask a question on Facebook or Instagram so I can know that it's a question, but I don't see any because, have such clarity. Amazing. Instagram, any questions? Anybody Instagramming? Shout out to my dear friend Beryl Solomon. See that you're on. Wonderful to have you join us amongst everybody else. Okay, Clubhousers. Anybody in Clubhouse to share something, to ask something? Wow, I guess such clarity everybody has. Amazing. Beautiful. So I don't want to say, by the way, that words don't matter. Of course, we got to be careful with our words. So it's that's not the suggestion here. Oh, you could be lackadaisical, you could be not mindful of what you're saying. No. That's not the point at all over here. That we need to, no doubt about it. Well, taking it, and by the way, and this is a paradox. I got to be careful, but someone else wasn't so careful with their words, and they said the word jerk to me. One word, right? So where I'm careful, this is a beautiful thought on what it means truth. Truth comes in paradoxes. And here's the paradox. That I need to be very careful. I shouldn't say the word jerk because that's going to hurt somebody. But if that person said it to me, first of all, I'm not going to be hurt. And secondly, I'm not going to define them by it. Even though words matter, I'm going to recognize it's one word relative to who that person is. It's nothing. It's nothing. So I get over it, but I able to get over them and who they are. Way beyond that.
Rabbi?
Yeah, let that sink in. Let that sink in. That's very... yeah. Yes, Vilma. Go ahead.
Well, one word in and of itself really doesn't define people, but everything that people say defines who they are. It doesn't define anyone else.
Well, that's exactly the point I'm making. Exactly the opposite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite point is what I'm making over here. Is that's what the world says. What you say defines you. And that's exactly what we're saying here. It doesn't. And that's a very Jewish thing, and that's why the world doesn't say that. Right? The world doesn't say that. And that's why, oh, you once said this. Well, I'm canceling you out. And the world's going to cancel you out. You once said jerk. Well, you're going to be canceled for that. And that's, Western civilization, because that's what you're defined by. That's not the Jewish soul. That's not what defines the Jewish soul, and therefore we have the capability of rising above that, and that this metaphor is giving us a little capability to do that. That's the point over here that I think is important, is that, we can rise above are above that. Marty, please share with us.
So, just two things. When I think of words, I think of like speech. I look at like the way God created a human with a face. He gave us two eyes, two nose, one nose with two holes, with two ears, except for your mouth. Your mouth actually is the only part of your body that has two barriers from speaking, your teeth and your lips, to stop you from using words. And so I just wanted to add that to the conversation. But the question I have is regarding like Lashon Hara, there is consequences to speech, and there is things that do happen if you do say something that's wrong. How does that correlate with what you just said?
So, again, this is the paradox over here. Absolutely. I said words matter, and I said we got to be careful ourselves. Don't call somebody a jerk, right? Or whatever. I'm using the word jerk because it's just someone put it up over here. So I see the word, and it's one word, and it's one word that can hurt. So yeah, we should not do that. Words do matter, absolutely. So and there are consequences of it. But the paradox is that I've got to be careful. But if the word was said to me, how should I take it? Should I define that person by it? Should I be hurt by it? Should I make it matter or not? Well, if you understand that one word relative to who that person is so insignificant, so you know what? Make it insignificant for yourself on how you take it and how you look at that person. That's truth. That's a hard thing to live. The world is, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So, if I can't say a nasty thing, then you can't, and therefore, if I'm going to be judged by it, then I'm going to judge you by it. No, that's Western civilization, and that's the cancel culture that's going on, because of that. No, it's actually it's a paradox over here. There is, that I got to be extremely careful. Absolutely, words do matter. And if I do say something nasty, you know what? Be pained by it, do tshuva, and fix it 100%. Now, does that mean that someone else, vis-a-vis me, or vis-a-vis me, not vis-a-vis someone else, right? Vis-a-vis me, the same thing happened. I turn it around the opposite way. That's godly. The other way is human. And that's what humans have been doing for the last 55,780 plus years. We need to get to the godly place. The godly place is that I live with that paradox. Just like, let me ask you something. You know what the ultimate paradox is? Is God something or nothing? The Rambam says he's built in Metzias Nimsa. Without being, he's found. Can you say he is a being? Well, if he's a being, that means he has definition. But on the other hand, is he not found? So what is he? Is he nothing, or is he the ultimate something? That's the paradox. Both, right? So godly means a paradox. Truth means a paradox, and this is a paradox over here. Absolutely. But when you think about it, it's true. It resonates with truth. It resonates with a higher self, not with our lower self. That would be, again, what the world around us is, and the human condition, what the human condition is, and we're here, learning Tanya, Beinoni in training to rise above that. Does that resonate, Marty?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, just to bring clarification. Very much appreciated. Because, again, we got to wrap our minds around it. It's not obvious, but I hope when you hear this, it becomes, oh, wow, that's the way to live. Now, Laura, I lost the feed on what you just asked, so if you want to put it back up. How do you feel about a person who speaks of a destruction of Israel and says anti-Semitic remarks? Of course, that person is, it's not that, again, I'm talking about what someone said to me. Someone said about the Jewish people, that's a different story. Someone said about another person, that I need to stand up for because maybe they need someone to help them, to stand up for them. That's a different story. Let's not mix things here and get confused. Absolutely. Do we stand up and, call it out? Absolutely. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what I was talking about. So make sure that we're on the same page and talking about the same idea, right? So we're not confusing the notion over here. Asher, is this not what expressed in the Kaddish, our statement of faith, that the Holy One, blessed be He, beyond blessing, hymns, praises, and consolation, and utterance of this world? Yeah, for sure, that's in praise of God, but I'm not certain how that ties in over here. I have to think about that, if it does tie in. I'm sure it does on some level. Vicky, we are fallible and speak from a place of pain and defense like animals cornered. Vicky, very true what you just said. And that's why we're here to learn Tanya, to rise above that condition. We have an animal soul, and so long as we are living by it, yeah, that's where we're going to be. And we're going to be vindictive. Someone hurt me, and I never hurt them. I was kind, I was good, and they hurt me. So we're going to be angry, we're going to be vindictive, and so on and so forth. And that's the culture. And that's what we're trying to rise above. Again, that doesn't mean there isn't responsibility for what people do and what people say. Absolutely. I'm not talking about the responsibility that they have. We're talking about how am I taking it that person did something to me. That's the question. How am I taking that? And furthermore, how am I seeing that person now? If it's a rotten, a good-for-nothing Nazi, whatever. We are, maybe we're not going to be so kind because of what they, what they are doing to the world and to people. But let's talk about your friend. Let's talk about your loved ones. Let's not talk about. I've been living here in Montreal over 40 years. I'm an identifiable Jew, by the way. People see me, they kind of know right away I'm Jewish. I rarely come up against anti-Semitism. I don't even think once in 2 years or once in 5 years. Maybe, I don't know. Rarely. So is that my world? No. But you know what my world is? That someone that I love said something nasty to me. Right? I mean, whatever. You know what I mean. I don't know if anybody truly did that, but whatever. Is we're allotted to speak only a certain amount in secular words of a lifetime. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean by that. Any tips on less judgment? Yes, what we just learned. Rick, if we think about what we just learned and the truth of it, then we'll be able to do that. Okay. Natalie has a question on Instagram. All right. An Instagram question. Hopefully we'll give an Insta. How do we tackle that? How do we tackle what? Natalie, what if you are an activist and are attacked by evil words constantly, and there are any wiggle room that we ignore them too? If you're an activist and because of that, they're saying things against Israel or they're saying things against the Jewish people, that's not what we're talking about over here. Those are evil people, and how to deal with that that's not the subject right now. So leave that alone right now. That can be a subject another time. We gave a course recently on anti-Semitism, JLI course, and you know what? that's where the answers will be. Let's talk about life. Life is with the people you know and the people you love. Okay? That's life. And that's what we're talking about over here. Not about these things. Again, anti-Semitism, I don't know, I don't remember now exactly when I had something really openly anti-Semitic happened to me recently, in the last few years. I don't remember now. Maybe I just, don't want to remember, but no, that's not true. So, you're an activist and you're doing things for Israel and you're getting, that's not the discussion over here. Yeah, how we answer that, that's a good question. How do we deal? First of all, you shouldn't be hurt. Some anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, anti-Semite says something. We're hurt by that from a person that is so living in the dark. I'm not going to be hurt by that. Now, we may be, we need to respond to that because we don't want that negativity, to go, either unanswered or not dealt with. But that's, again, a whole different issue, okay? But, Natalie, it's an important one. For those interested in the, anti-Semitism course, private message me. I hope. I'm very passionate about this, as you probably can tell. I think I answered everybody. There might have been something on the feed that I didn't. I find the ability to forgive others for nasty words, but later on the feelings or hurt come back. That's normal, Laura. Thank you for sharing your challenge, which is, I think all of us have it. And we then have to deal with it again on a higher level. You're gonna have to deal with it again. And here's a way we can deal with it is by thinking about one word relative to that person. So don't define them by it. Don't make them that. The world does, but that doesn't mean you should. Vilma, I'm sorry, Vilma. I'm sorry. Just give me. I've got to deal with others over here first, if you don't mind. I heard that we are born with a lot of words to speak in a lifetime. I was told that we can always talk Torah, but so this is a metaphor, Davida, that we were talking about, right? That we could articulate and speak non-stop, right? Just our organs maybe get tired a little, our mouth might get tired, but potential. So it was a metaphor to bring out an idea about how insignificant one word is to our power of speech. Okay, so it's a metaphor, but it's true. We are allotted only a certain amount of days, only a certain amount of words. That's true. That we will say. So that's why. Make those words count. Make those words impactful that will, brighten up a person's day, will have, real significant value in someone else's life. So, yeah, absolutely. 1 second. Okay. Go ahead, Vilma. Sorry, I just want to be on before I lose the feed on people.
So, 2 things. I know that there is something in the evening prayers that talks about forgiveness and about how, letting go of the things that happened that we may have done or that others may have done to us is really important because every day is a new day. Now, what people say does define them at that moment. It doesn't define them for eternity because their soul is not limited, like you said. But at that time, if they're saying something to you, no matter how it's said, it's about understanding the person and the message behind it, not the actual way they're saying it or how they're expressing themselves or if they're using expletives or not. this applies in the workplace or anywhere else. You listen to try to understand what the actual person is trying to say in their message to you because it's important for them. But like you said, that doesn't mean that they're like defined by it. It's just that they're trying to communicate something that's important to them. And then it's important to let it go. If it's, you're trying to have a working relationship or any type of relationship with someone, you can't hold grudges and then be working and peaceful with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Eliana, please share.
Thank you. One thing I was just thinking about as everybody was talking and asking questions is that I personally, something that I have found a lot of peace within myself. I have no control over anybody else. The only person that I have control over and the only soul I have control over is my own. So in all of this, it's what responsibility do I have in the moment? So if I'm the one speaking, my responsibility is to choose my words correctly or to choose silence, because sometimes silence is the better word. And if someone's speaking to me, I choose how I react to that. And I can choose, if someone calls me a jerk, I can be like, well, you're a jerk back, and that's my choice, be it a bad choice or not the best choice. Or I could say they're having a moment. Yeah, that doesn't define them. They're pretty cool otherwise, or they're just having a bad day. I think about the times that working in retail, when I've worked in retail in the past, you get customers that are grumpy and you get customers that are great. And then there's days that I might have replied grumpy. And there's days I have said something grumpy to a cashier and gone back to apologize because I wasn't acting in the best way, and that affected her. And my responsibility at that moment was, one, I should have chosen better words, but then to go back and fix it. And then, the responsibility of if someone is looking out, because people have brought up, and it's not what we're talking about, I know, but people have brought up, what if, someone's offending somebody out there? My responsibility is always to defend those that I care about, or to defend those that are not at the best, that are not being treated correctly. And so that's how I look at my life. What is my responsibility in the moment to act in a godly manner?
Excellent. Beautiful. Well said. Thank you. Well said. Give me a moment over here. If we are a recipient of a word daggers from others, is that God bringing attention to a fault within us? Very good, John. Yeah, so on a deeper level, and to add to this conversation, which thank you for everybody for sharing, to add to this conversation, so on a deeper level, we learned this actually in the